has come. For 300 years, we prepared. We grew stronger. While you rested in your cradle of power.
So it's not looking very good for comic books. I got some really bad news about DC Comics that I want to go over. I've went over this before, but it really does seem like this is likely. So we're going to talk about 5G. This is the new initiative for DC Comics. So they're pretty much going to revamp their line and replace all the heroes. Now, on paper, I think this is an interesting idea about how, so they're going to age out all of the main heroes and replace them. I think that could work if you do it slowly. I'm talking over like a decade. You just age the heroes over 10 years. That is an interesting idea. But instead, they're going to do it in 1 month. They're going to do an event, and then they're going to switch over to new heroes. And it's not going to be a natural thing. It's going to be a forced ideology. Basically, they're going to get woke and go broke. Now, Marvel did this a long time ago. It was called All New, All Different Marvel. You can see right here. This was the big push. It's where you had Falcon come in. You had Old Man Captain America. Black Panther was brought to the front. Tony Stark stopped becoming a playboy. He just kind of became this nerdy cuck loser. You have the two Spider-Men, Miss Marvel with her gigantic hand power, a power no woman would ever want. It's like, oh, big hands, that's hot. No, you place Thor with a lady. I don't even know who this guy is with the bow and arrow. He's off. I don't know who that is. I'm gonna be honest. And you have Ant-Man, Spider-Gwen, so 3 Spider characters. Spider-Woman, who I also want to point out was pregnant. She's pregnant, fighting crime. This has been a big thing in Marvel Comics for a while, these pregnant female superheroes. It's like, you're a terrible mother. Like, well, you're putting your baby like that. No mother who's 9 or 8 months old would be out fighting crime. But they seem to think that this is what men like. Their largest demographic, by the way. They seem to think this is what's going to pull the guys in. You can't see, but behind there is the Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda shirt cover that we all know. Then we have Old Man Miss Marvel, the cosmic pregnant Nova lady, and then there's Spider-Woman there to the right. So this was the big push. These were the ladies of Marvel during All New, All Different Marvel. It was a disaster. It probably put a lot of comic book shops out of business. And it's like that first article I showed you said, a lot of people are leaving comic books behind. Mostly superhero comic books. I think some of the Image comics do okay for, what it costs to make them. And then, of course, you have the independent market, which is thriving right now. Particularly Comicsgate is doing really good. But as far as the mainstream comics go, the people just really aren't interested in them. And you look at this picture and you kind of can figure out why. And they're really in denial about this. They think All New, All Different Marvel is great. Comic pros also regularly crap on customers. I think social media is the worst thing to ever happen to comic books. Because you really got to know creators and how terrible they are. They're really nasty people, some of the worst. But let's set all that aside. Let's just go with saying that the quality of the comics have went to shit. And I think that's the big draw here. So now DC Comics is in trouble. If you didn't know, DC Comic Books has been taken over by AT&T. AT&T doesn't really do print. So they're looking at this, why are we making DC Comic Books? We got the movies. We got the animated shows. What do we need you for? Because let's face it, comics just don't make in that much money. They don't bring in that much money. It's a very boutique-ish thing to do. Now I think Marvel can survive because Disney's got so much money. Who do they care? I think you'll see Marvel survive through a digital form, but DC Comics is different. They'll end up probably having to license out all of their characters. So that would be a really strange day. Who's going to buy Batman, Would they all share a universe anymore? These are really interesting questions. And I think they're questions that are going to have answers because of what DC Comics is going to do. Let's be clear. Marvel can't survive without DC. Now, Marvel can throw comic books at walls and see what sticks all day long, but you need a little bit more variety. DC Comics needs to be there. If DC Comics gets pulled out of comic shops, that'll be the end of comic shops. Period. I don't think they can survive without DC. You can't just go in there and have Marvel and Image and IDW. You need DC there. And I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see what happens, but here's the breakdown. So Rich Johnston reports on this, and you can say what you want about the guy. I don't really care for him either, but the fact is, for some reason, you have these comic pros that will feed him rumors, and he gets stuff out like this, and usually it's true. He's been reporting on it for a year. And here's what he has to say. Bleeding Cool has been reporting on this publishing plan led by publisher Dan Didio at DC Comics since summer. A new generation of DC Comics characters to follow the laid-out 4 generations of DC Comics superheroes. The 5th generation would have new individuals take the traditional roles held in the big superhero books. And we started to get specifics. That Jonathan Kent would become Superman. So that is Superman's biological son. That's actually not really that big of a deal. I think people would embrace that. Luke Fox would become Batman. So that's the son of Lucius Fox. That's totally a move that doesn't need to be made. Look, the only person that should become Batman is Richard Grayson. That's it. That's the only person that should ever become Batman, in my opinion. And I think that's an opinion that a lot of long-term comic book readers share. He's a logical choice. It's been done before, and people liked it. I would be okay with Richard Grayson becoming Batman. But this move is being done for a particular reason, and that's because Richard Grayson isn't the right look that they're looking for in this move. And I'll get to why in a second. Captain Cold Jr. would be the new Flash, and whoever Joe Mullen is, I don't know. That's going to be the new lead Green Lantern. I don't know who that is. I don't follow a lot of Green Lantern stuff. I guess that's Teen Lantern. Apparently, according to Ethan Van Sciver, Teen Lantern hacks the Green Lantern stuff, Oa, to become green, like get a Green Lantern artificial ring and become Teen Lantern, but now is getting one. I don't know. I don't know anything about Teen Lantern. I know that's a Brian Michael Bendis creation, and he's just garbage now. He's who's leading this, by the way. He's pretty much writing like 90% of all the stories at DC Comics. Ever since Brian Michael Bendis joined DC Comics, they have been ran into the ground. I read 2 DC comic books right now. 2 that he doesn't touch. Batman and Detective Comics. That's it. I used to read like 6 or 7 DC comic books. And I stopped after Brian Michael Bendis came on. I was reading both Superman books. Not anymore. Now with that clown writing it, he's trash. He used to be good in the early 2000s. He was actually a pretty good writer. I don't know what happened to him, but he has just lost it completely. I think just about everything he makes is trash. But anyway, one thing that they're leaving out here is Wonder Woman. Now, reports that Bleeding Cool talked about before, that's not in this one, is that Deanna would be stepping down as Wonder Woman, and she would be replaced with a non-binary character. So that's the direction that DC Comics is going to go. You tell me how that's going to work out. There's a reason that they call it Get Woke, Go Broke. You're not putting story first. You're going after that phantom audience that's just not there. They never show up. They don't support anything. You know where they're going to be reading these comic books? On getcomics.com. The pirate site. That's where they're going to be. They're going to be reading them over there. They're not going to go into comic shops or go to your digital outlets and pay for these. They're not going to do that. All you're going to do is alienate paying customers because they're not going to buy these books. So slowly but surely, comic book shops will feel the burn. No one's going to come in and buy this stuff. And after a while, more and more are going to close. They close all the time. You could do a video a week if you're running a comic channel talking about comic books pretty much comic shops going out of business. 1 or 2 goes out, seems like every week. So you got 2,000 left. This will probably cut it down by half. And then slowly, the industry is just going to run out. So let's continue on. And other characters would be aged out. Indeed, the plan was at some point in 2020, the DC Comics timeline, as expressed at NYCC, would see characters across the universe suddenly aged and the status of the DC universe changed. That was the big plan. It was scheduled for October and it was called 5G. Now aspects have been in flux since. Even now, not everything is nailed down. We have heard about the plan since there's going to be a convergence style event, so editorial would get a head start on preparing for it. We have heard about Brian Bendis and his Wonder Comics team working on a crisis event comic before then as well. So, that's why it's going to be terrible. On top of the woke stuff, but Brian Bendis, his whole Wonder Comics team is absolutely horrendously bad. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't know anything about DC lore and continuity, and they just throw it into the trash if they do. So here's another thing. So there would also be a black label DC Giant publishing line. So those will be for those who are committed to the previous versions of DC Comics characters and remember everything happened. So that's what that would be. So the giant size comics, and I actually liked this idea, so we could see what happens, but so basically you would still have a Batman, Bruce Wayne, Superman, Clark Kent. But these would be standalone issues. There'd be no crossovers. Those would be it. But they'd be more expensive. So you would be paying $10 a month for a Batman comic. Once a month, you wouldn't be buying Detective and Batman. You'd be buying one, as far as I know. And you'd be buying one Superman comic, and that would be it. So that actually appeals to me because then I could just buy those 2 books and be done. And I could read my favorite characters, and I don't have to read any of this 5G trash. That's actually a pretty decent idea to me. I have no problem paying $10 for 1 book a month. That's okay with me. But it's also confusing to the normie. So the normie, who I don't even know if they can get back anyway. I really don't think normies care about comics anymore, and I don't think you can get them back. I mean, what are they going to choose? $10 Steam game or 2 comic books that are done in 5 minutes? You're done reading them in 5 minutes, that's a wrap. What are they going to pick? I just don't see it anymore. You needed to do so many things to fix comics a long time ago, and I just don't think there's bringing them back. Every year, they lose money, and they think they've lost money now. This ain't going to work. All new Marvel didn't work, and this 5G trash ain't going to work either. So we'll see. I think it'll be funny to watch. We'll get some good content out of it. But at a price of the medium. So anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you thought about this. Are you excited for WOKE? Let me know your thoughts. I'd like to hear them. Also, share the video. Throw a like up. If you would, make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that, and subscribe if you're new.